was trying to debate whether or not I was going to bring this up, but I followed you on Twitter. And I said that we were going to be best friends. So I'm thinking
that we're best friends now.
It's close. We're close.
Maybe by the
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, best friend.
It's nice to meet you as well, sir. We'll exchange further pleasantries.
Pleasantries.
There you go. I've been doing these Q&As all day.
That's why I'm not best friends with idiots. I'm sorry. And I'm out.
So let's start off with a good question. Go ahead, sir.
What was your favorite scene on Reaper?
What was my favorite scene on Reaper? Ooh, you guys have been breathing a lot in here. It's hot. What is my favorite scene we ever shot in Reaper? I have to say one of my top 5. Is anybody familiar with the show in here?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys remember Gladys, the DMV demon? Yeah, I had to make out with her in a feverish tryst in season 1 in a dream of mine, and it was actually Christine Willis is a really good friend of mine. And it was a really fun scene to shoot. I ended up winning a Canadian Film Award for that scene, a Leo, for making out with a lady. So if anybody feels like winning an award tonight.
No, do you find
I'm an award-winning kisser. That's what I'm trying to say.
Do you find it? It's got to be flattering to know that now that the show is on Netflix, that you're attracting new fans, especially with Tucker and Dale on Netflix as well.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I'm finding that that's sort of been the way that I've been attracting fans for a while now. Is like word of mouth, which is all because of you guys. So thank you for that. And Netflix has been pretty awesome. You know, with Reaper being back on there and Tucker and Dale, it's like more and more people get to find it and sort of feel like they've discovered it, you know, and pass it on to their friends. And I think that's kind of the way I like finding movies. That's the best way I like to find movies. So it's been cool.
Excellent. Questions? Yes, sir.
The Tucker and Dale scene where you're at the gas station and you got to eat a jug of pickled eggs. How many did you have to eat before you got the scene right, and how tasty were they?
All right, that's a 3-promer. I had to eat about 13 of them. I remember exactly how many friggin' eggs I had to eat. I ate 13 of those disgusting little morsels of just... Has anybody eaten a pickled egg here?
No.
Okay, look, the one response I heard in the crowd was, it sucks. Okay, now just imagine that times 13. It's like, yeah, people in the world eat these friggin' things, but they're just like, they're not good. So anyway, so I ate 13 of them. And every scene, every take, I had to take a huge bite of one. So it was like one, and then we would, pick up the scene, I would eat the other half. And in full takes, I was eating an entire egg, and in the last take, the 13th one, lucky 13, I coughed, which is in the movie when I think I say to Alan something like, "Are you nuts, man?" or something, and a piece of pickled egg went into my sinus. And I was like, for the rest of the scene, trying to play this tickle in the back of my throat, and I barfed as soon as I called cut, and I threw up all of the eggs that I just ate. So that was fun. Yeah. The other thing is they smelled better, and I'm not exaggerating. They smelled better after I barfed them up than they did when I ate them.
Someone had a great game. Yep.
I promised I'd ask you some questions about Control Alt Delete.
Yeah, you did.
So, did you know what the theme of the film was while your brother was writing it, or did you find out after, and how did he approach you about doing some of those delicacies?
Yeah, okay, good question. For those of you who don't know, I made a film with my brother, who's a filmmaker and a writer, called Control Alt Delete. And it's a very, very bizarre film that, what's your name again? Renee here is probably the only one in the room who's seen it. But we went to TIFF, we went to the Toronto International Film Festival, and made a bit of a splash because it's a movie about a guy, me, who fucks computers. I mean, like drills holes in the side of computer and sticks my penis inside of it and goes to town. So yeah, it's a weird movie to say the least. I'm very proud of it. It's a good movie. But yeah, you can imagine it's a little bit odd when your brother comes to you one day and says, "Hey man, do you want to do this movie where you fuck computers and I'll film you doing it and it'll be really fun?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, bro. That sounds awesome. Let's go. High five." You know, it sort of went like that actually. But we decided. My brother is a graduate of UBC, the film program at UBC, and he had been working on a concept for a movie which was 5 vignettes, 5 shorts about what true love or real love can be, and seen through different eyes. And one of them was like a guy who fell in love with a woman who had no sense of humor. He was a comedian, and he basically dedicated his life to teaching her what humor was. And through the process, he loses his sense of humor, and she becomes a much more successful comedian than he ever was. And or there was a kid that was in love with this, female. She was a drug dealer. It was just all weird little stories of what love could be. And then there was the story about the guy who had sex with computers. And for whatever reason, that story was the one that kind of stuck out as being the most interesting, and we were able to hang our hat on that the most. So we sort of ran with it for like 4 years, and it eventually turned into the movie that you saw. So I knew about it a lot, and I actually helped him write parts of it. So yeah, I was very invested in the computer fucking. Plus it was fun.
Next question. All right, so me and you were going to talk. We're going to just chill and talk.
All right.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, don't be shy. Come on, that's what we're here for.
This is a good one.
Yeah. If you lost both your legs, would you opt for pogo stick feet? And would you make yourself like taller, shorter, or stay the same height?
You mean with the addition of the pogo stick feet?
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah, okay. I think having pogo stick feet would already be a little off-putting for my friends and family, so I think adding extra height would be, maybe a little much for them to take in, so I think I would make myself the same height. And were you telling me that there were options other than pogo sticks for my feet? Because I can imagine there would be some better ones.
Oh, no, that's your only choice.
So my only choice is pogo, so there was no question. You're just asking me if I lost my legs, how would I feel about having pogo stick feet? Very good. I think that'd be a fun way to go through life. I mean, after I got over the initial blow of losing my legs, obviously.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you surprised that they didn't bring back Invasion?
Was I surprised? Yeah. I feel like it was. We finished the season and I was wearing like an invincibility cloak. We were like, all right, see you guys next year. We finished up with really big ratings, but my theory, if you want to hear it, is that ABC at the time was what CBS is now. They're untouchable in the ratings. They've been #1 for like 5 years. Lost was kicking ass. So if you weren't getting 22 million views every week, you were considered kind of like trash to them. So when we finished up with like 15 million, viewers, they were like, please. And they like threw it off the schedule. And I've had so many shows canceled. I usually end up getting no answer because they don't have to. Nobody's held accountable, right? But when I did Reaper, Touchstone, which had done Invasion, also did Reaper, and the executives from Invasion actually approached me after like 3 martinis at the party for Reaper and said, hey man, we made a big mistake. We just wanted you to know that. We made a big mistake canceling Invasion. We went with the wrong show, and kind of explained to me why. And it was neat. It was like the first and only time I ever got any closure on a TV series that I work on for a year and put all my blood, sweat, and tears into just gets tossed in the trash. That was nice to at least know,
Great show.
Yeah, thanks man. I liked it too. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Big fan of your movie, Good Old Fashioned Orgy.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I'm not taking my clothes off, just so everyone knows. I promised myself I wouldn't take my clothes off.
How was that experience?
That was really cool, man. It was like, that was another one that I knew I had been involved with before a lot of people were actually on board. Pete Hike and Alex Gregory, who wrote and directed the film, started auditioning for that movie like 10 years ago now, I guess. At one point, Vince Vaughn was attached. It went through the Hollywood ringer, and it was just one of those scripts that everybody knew about in town for a long time. And then I came of age. It was like the new generation of comedic actors, and they were like, would you come in and tape? And I already knew what the movie was about, but I never read it. So when I read it, I was like, oh, this is actually a really good script. And jumped on board, and they obviously cast me for it, but there was nobody else cast in the movie yet. So I was sort of the first one to take a leap at this really long shot movie. Not that it's like some big tale of success or anything. I mean, you know, not many people have seen it, but yeah. So I jumped on board early and was ready for a good old-fashioned orgy. And then it was people like Martin Starr and Nick Kroll and those guys that jumped on board, and then rounded it all out with Sudeikis, and it was like, holy shit, we got a movie here. But keep in mind, this is kind of before some of those people had blown up. We were all sort of just getting started, you know, Lake Bell and people like that were all just kind of fringe. But so it was neat to be a part of that crowd.
Next question? Yes.
Oh, and it was fun to shoot. Yeah. Makeouts.
While in line, I heard you tell another fan something about a project you're working with Judy Greer. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I can officially now. You guys will probably be the first public acknowledgement I've made, or announcement I've made about this movie. I'm starring in and executive producing a new movie. Right now it's called Nearly Wed, and it's a romantic comedy starring me and Judy Greer and Jason Biggs. And we're starting production in May in Toronto, and it's basically about a couple, me and Judy. Does everyone know Judy Greer in here? Yeah, she's awesome, she's great. And a Jersey boy, Biggs, he's an awesome guy too. But Judy and I are married for about 8 years when you meet us in the story. And we decide to buy a house. Things aren't going very well for us. It's like classic couple move. Like, what do? Have a baby, buy a dog, get a house. So we start with the house. And when we're filling out all the paperwork to get our loan, some glitch comes up in our paperwork, basically showing us that we were never technically married. We didn't actually, I forgot to mail in forms, what have you, standard stuff. And we sort of both decided at that point, like, well, maybe we shouldn't be married. I don't know, maybe we shouldn't. And we take a step back and start sort of dating each other again. And it's sort of a movie about this married couple dating each other again and learning to see if they actually like each other or not, or love each other. It's good, it's really good.
Next question? Yes.
Did you know Judy before you guys did Mad Love? Or?
No, I actually, when we started doing Mad Love, that was another show that I jumped on board before a lot of other people were involved. It was just me and Biggs. Well, hey, you know, maybe I should look before I leave more, but the pilot had been shot with Lizzie Kaplan originally. I don't know if you guys know Lizzie Kaplan. Yeah. So she was Judy's role in the original, and Minka Kelly was Sarah Chalk's part in this show originally. Everybody got fired, basically. And Lizzie didn't get fired. She never wanted to do the show. She did the pilot so that her and I could do something together because we've been friends for a long time. And so when Lizzie wouldn't come back to do the show, it drove everybody at the network nuts, obviously. And they're like, well, who in the world can we cast? And we started brainstorming names. And I threw out Judy Greer. I just, because I was a big fan. I just love her work, from, you know, everything from Arrested Development to Archer to, you know, you name it. I think she's really talented. And they were like, oh yeah, she'd be great, but I don't know if she'll do it. Like, would you go and like butter her up, basically? And I was like, she doesn't know me. I just said I like her. They're like, well, you guys have the same agent. Why don't you guys go out for dinner with your agent and try to convince her to do the show? So I went out with her and like wooed her into doing this show successfully, I guess. So then we became really good friends after that, and now we talk and hang out all the time. So yeah, she's good. She's a good lady.
Anyone else? Yes.
Any fun stories from Del Tucker that you can share with us?
Yeah. Ate a bunch of pickled egg. Wait, no. I told that one. Tucker and Dale. Well, we had sort of no money to make this movie. We shot it in Calgary. It was freezing. There was not much consideration in advance for the cold, like to anticipate how cold it was going to be. So there's the scene in the lake when I jump in to grab Katrina Bowden. The lake was frozen that day. It thawed out that evening. And I think the temperature was about 34 degrees in the lake. That's cold. That's really fucking cold. And they were like, okay, you're jumping in now. And I remember thinking to myself, well, do we have like a stunt coordinator, or do I have like a wetsuit, or is there basically any precautions being taken for me here? And they were all like scratching their heads, and unanimously the all-star basically just said, no, we don't have any. Will you do it still? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And jumped in. The one thing they did have is they had a blow-up an inflatable hot tub full of lukewarm water. That was nice. Not even lukewarm, it was like tepid, we'll put it that way. And so I jumped in, I had to do that like 3 or 4 times, and instead of getting dry every time because it was so dark, I was just like, I can't handle getting dry and getting back in again. Just let me stay wet and get back in the boat and I'll jump in again. And after the 3rd time of doing it, it wasn't very deep. The water maybe came up to here, and I had to, maybe paddle like 20 feet to the shore. By the 3rd time I did it, I was in, and all of a sudden I was just like, oh, my arms aren't moving anymore. I can't move my arms. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, that's all right. You're just a little cold, man. You'll like shake it off. And I was like, oh no, I can't move my arms, man. And then I started to feel like, has anybody ever here gotten hypothermia or mild hypothermia? Again, it hurts, man. You can't breathe. Your chest constricts. Your extremities all start to seize up and basically not work anymore. And I'm just standing. I'm not drowning and getting hypothermia. I'm standing in water up to here. And I'm just like, I can't move! And they had to come in and get me out of the water. So that was pretty fun. For everyone involved. So, I was like, if I'm getting hypothermia, at least 3 more dudes are getting hypothermia with me. But yeah, there were lots of fun moments on that movie. There was lots of drinking with me and Alan Tudyk. I don't drink anymore, so don't ask me to have a drink with you tonight. But we were definitely up to some shenanigans all the time on that set. It was really fun.
Are you a fan of horror films in general?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a total horror geek. I love it. Yeah.
Now, when you read that script, did you see how they turned everything around and how smart it was?
Oh yeah, man. Like the play on all the horror tropes and like, for the lack of a better word, the lampooning of some of my favorite horror movies was like, I had to do it. I had to do it. The only concern I had was like, if this is done poorly, it'll just look like a slap in the face, or it'll just look like another bad,
spoof,
or even just a bad horror movie. You know what I mean? And but Eli Craig, the writer and director of the movie, was kind of very impassioned, obviously, about his own work, and sat me down for a meeting, and we were, I had never really done a leading man other than computer fucking. Which Hollywood didn't exactly, stand at attention and take note for that one. But we decided to take a mutual leap of faith with each other. I was like, I don't think anybody could direct this better than you. You wrote it. You know exactly what you're trying to do, but had no track record of showing that you could, pull it off. And I, on the other hand, was like a really unlikely leading man, right? So we just took the leap of faith with each other and did it. But man, when I read that screenplay, I was like, this could be.
So you have to be, overwhelmed. You have to be happy the way that the horror community has embraced it. Because it started off just a little bit at a time, and then all of a sudden it exploded. I can remember almost 2 years ago telling people like, oh my God, I saw this movie, you've got to see it. And little by little, it just took off, man, and it was awesome.
And it still is, and that's what I was saying about fans like you guys of the movie. It's like, it literally is word of mouth. There is no marketing machine behind this. It never has been. It's all been you guys who have either bought it or stolen it and passed it along to your friends. I stole it, don't worry about it. And told their friends, and their friends told their friends, and it's turned into this thing. So very literally, no hyperbole here. It is what it is because you guys made it that way. So,
do you think it was easier for people to accept you from going from Reaper, which was kind of a horror-based show, to that role? Because your character was very likable on Reaper, very likable, which is kind of rare in TV a lot of times. So you go from that to a very likable character that, I don't want to say they're the same, but they're parallel, I guess you could say.
Sure, they were just like, I would say, very different approaches. With Reaper, the likability was something that we had to bank on because my character was kind of a dick. He was kind of a dickhead, He was a little bit of a loudmouth, know-it-all.
Everybody has their friend.
Yeah, of course, but we had to sort of bank on okay, how shitty can we make this guy and have him still be likable, which was like a gauge we had to constantly meter. Whereas with Tucker and Dale, it was the same thing. It was like, this guy's really likable, but I had to strip away all of the other stuff and just try and be just a really likable killer hillbilly, you know what I mean? There was no sarcasm or any kind of wit to this guy. He was just kind of a big dumb animal, And we had to just sort of make that guy as likable as we could, but there was no finesse to it, you know what I mean? Just be what I was. And I had to take a big leap of faith with Eli for that too, because he was constantly having to get me to pull back from ad-libbing, because Alan Tudyk is a master of ad-libbing, and I like doing it myself, so some of these takes, they were just very unusable, call them that, but yeah. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Would you ever think of doing like some type of like almost like a Ted Bundy role, like a real psycho? Have you ever been offered one?
Like go totally nuts, you mean?
Like offered a role that you would play like a really
psychopath.
Psychopath.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Sort of like American Psycho.
Sure. I guess, yeah, first of all, yes, I love that kind of thing, you know, like taking the expectations people have of me and really shaking them up, but I kind of have a movie like that coming out, a little bit. It's called Cottage Country. The preview is online. It's with me and Malin Ackerman, who is an awesome actress as well. And I said as well as if I'm an actress as well. We're both amazing actresses. But Malin and I do this movie, and it's not quite what you're talking about, but I do kill people. But it's always because, you know, I'm being put upon by everybody. My character is ultimately the good guy, but not, because he's killing people. There's no in between. It's like either he's the biggest pushover in the world or people are dying. So it's an interesting, there was a snap there I had to play where this guy just kind of loses it and kind of uses this facade of everything's perfect, dear, you know, and so that was a neat role, but that is the closest I've ever gotten to doing something like that. If a role like that came along, I certainly would consider doing one, so yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, the preview's online. Go type in Cottage Country on YouTube. It's good.
As an actor, you'll play any role, but is there something that you've done a lot of comedy, now you're doing a lot more of the horror like you had just mentioned. Is there something that you feel that is really your forte more than one thing over the other?
I know what people, I know in like the network TV system what they think my forte is, which is what a lot of people have seen, which is the sock kind of character or the Larry Munch kind of character. But if you actually look at what I've done on TV, including Invasion or like Boston Legal or, you know, shows where it's been a little different. I mean, Dave on Invasion was this, you know, conspiracy theorist. Like I think he was a little bit more of a, you know, fringe kind of whack job, you know, and then Sock was sort of just this opportunistic, you know, good guy when the chips are down, but kind of would do whatever he needed to do to be more comfortable in life. And I always feel like there are different variations on what I'm doing, but the forte, I think the thing that's sort of the unifying theme for all of them is that they're funny. You know, I think I'm a bit like a brash, kind of loud sort of guy. I think that's sort of what people think I do best, but honestly, it's exhausting. I really like it when I get asked to do something that's a little more reserved or pull it back or rein it in, you know?
I mean, as your best friend, I knew the answer, so.
Yeah, this is just stuff that I have to elaborate on for your sake.
Go ahead.
And Darcy Tucker, what was your favorite death?
My favorite death? Oh, shit. Those stupid college kids, man. I love them all. I love every single one of their deaths. It's obviously everyone loves the wood chipper death. I feel like I can't say that, but I think that's just the best one. I think it's just amazing. It's amazing. And then after that, I would say it's probably the bees. The bees. When I read that, I was just like, oh my God, it's so funny. The realization on the kid's face when him and Alan are running at the same speed and Alan starts to overtake him, he's just like, what is going on? It's priceless. I love it.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, when I saw Tucker and Dale, it was a fresh movie with some great ideas, and I was laughing the whole time. And I like Tucker and Dale. Is there any chance you could bring those characters back to another Tucker and Dale?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting way to put it. I think the reason we haven't yet is because we don't want to take that away from the people who love this movie. We don't want to cheapen the movie by making some, you know, capitalistic sort of, you know, franchise out of it. If we are going to make a sequel, it's going to be fresh and it's going to be stuff that you've never seen before. So we're in the process of trying to do that now. Alan Tudyk and Eli Craig and myself and Morgan Jurgensen, the other co-writer, have been talking about it with our producers for a while. And we have lots of ideas that we're throwing around. But again, it's like we really have to be careful about which way we go with it. We don't want to fall into sort of the same joke and just expect that you guys will love it because you love the first one. Because I hate that as a movie fan, you know, when they just sort of capitalize on your already existing passion for a movie or enjoyment of a movie. So if we do make one, it's going to be really good and it'll be very, very original again. So, yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah.
How was it with On the Planet of the Apes?
How was the movie? How was shooting
The
it?
movie was great.
Movie was good. I give it a solid B. The filming of it was nuts. It's my second movie with James. James and I know each other quite pretty well, and we sort of, I think the general vibe shooting that movie was like, I don't know, this might look cool, you know. Like, Wedo was just sort of going like, okay, trust us, this is what the new technology is. So when we were filming that movie, you know, any of the fight scenes with apes or anything, like half of the backgrounds that you see in that movie weren't there. There was nothing there, you know. So we had to like mime fighting with apes. So they're like roll, and you're going, you know, and they're like, oh, perfect, we got it. And then we would go upstairs to this other Weta lab they had, and it was a full green room with a green rotating gimbal that you would stand on, and they had bullet time cameras. And they would go, okay, now make an angry face. You go, and they would just slowly turn, and the cameras would go, and take like thousands of photos of your face while you're rotating, making angry face. And it would take hours. And you go, okay, now make the annoyed face, whatever annoyed face is, you know. And they would do that. And it was like, so by the time we finished shooting that movie, I was like, I don't know what this movie's gonna look like. I don't know what we shot. For all I know, they're gonna air a movie with me like miming with an invisible ape. It's my Planet of the Invisible Apes. That's what it would be called. And you know, and then when it came out, I was like, holy shit! I mean, it's amazing with this technology. And that, I mean, that now is even 3 years old. So you know, the new Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I can't even imagine what that's gonna look like. Andy Serkis is amazing. He's like, yeah. I mean, really, that guy is like a pioneer for, you know, that style of acting, which should just be called acting. He's an amazing actor. I think he should have been nominated for an Academy Award for that movie. People were like crying on set watching him do some of these scenes. But yeah, everyone really cool. Tom Felton. Yeah, it was neat. It was a really good experience, but it was, again, it was confounding because I was like, all right. One of those moments where as an actor, you're like, it's a good thing I have no shame. I'll just do whatever you tell me to do. So, yeah.
Are you a kind of guy that's going to go into the theater of your film playing and be quiet just to hear the reception?
Of my own movies?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't do that. If I go to a movie theater, I'm going with a big posse, and I'm like, I'm in this movie, everyone shut up! You know, no, I don't do that either. I usually just watch my movies the way, you know, everyone watches movies.
Illegally.
Yeah, or if I do, I end up watching them usually at a screening that has been put together for the cast and the crew and everybody. But my favorite screening of a movie still to date was the Sundance premiere of Tucker and Dale. It was like, people were like, I mean, it was a midnight showing, so people were drunk. That was amazing. But there was like, people were throwing around beach balls and shit. There was like, it was nuts. It was like a party. And then when the movie started, it was just like non-stop laughter, and that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Other than your groundbreaking role on Dark Angel, what has been your favorite role to date?
Oh, I can't say Dark Angel now, man. There's some salt in my game. Yeah.
I just want to make it easy for you.
My favorite role to date? Well, I have one that you guys haven't seen yet. Well, I'll tell you one that you might have known first, and then I'll get into that one. But I would say probably my favorite role is playing Dale so far. I really loved playing Dale because it was just like, it may have looked really simple and easy, but it was actually a really big challenge, that shoot, and then also the character just keeping things very simple, but still trying to be this like leading man and likable, but you know, all the horrible things that were going on. It was a challenge. We were juggling a lot of balls in that movie, and it just, I feel like if I can pat myself on the back for a role, or a portrayal of a role, I think that's one that I can. And then, which I do all the time. I walk around patting myself on the back all the time. You're all right, Labine. And then I just finished this movie in Savannah, Georgia with Richard Dreyfuss and Danny Glover and John Heder and Leslie Ann Brandt and Danny Masterson and a bunch of people there. It's really a neat movie called Killing Winston Jones. And I play the principal of a junior high school who is just so crazy. This is what you might be talking about. He's so nuts. He's the type of guy that like does things like when he sees a student chewing gum, puts on black gloves, walks over with his briefcase, takes out a Ziploc baggie, makes them spit the gum in his hand, puts it in the Ziploc baggie, labels it with the flavor and the date, puts it in his bag, and gives them demerits. And at the end of the movie, we realize that these pieces of gum are revisited by his own mouth when he's alone. Yeah, when he gets stressed out about a certain student, he'll go into his office, lock the door, and find that piece of gum with the date, and he chews it like... He's crazy, and it's funny, but it's not like the kind of comedy that I do. I played Principal Bowden, Douglas Bowden, and that one should be coming out. We just finished shooting it, so I don't know, but it's a really neat movie, so.
Anything else? Yes.
Me again. I have a Canadian friend, and when I told her that I was
good for you,
she shit a brick that I was meeting Jimmy from Breaker High.
Oh,
so
boy.
I have to bring back a story for her about Breaker High.
Breaker High.
Something good.
For all of you who don't know about Breaker High, which is probably most of you, it was a series that I did when I was 18 and 19 in Canada with Ryan Gosling. About a bunch of kids who go to school on a cruise ship around the world, which is totally realistic and reasonable, you know, for the middle-class family, you know, send their kid off to school, this white squall. So we shot that show in Vancouver in 1997, I guess. A good story from there. All right, should I tell this one?
Yeah.
All right, Breaker High is the reason why I quit smoking weed.
Oh, good story.
Yeah. So I was, like I said, I was 19. BC is known for having very good weed, which is very true. And kind of had that whole chip on my shoulder, like I can smoke anything, you know what I mean? Like I can smoke anything you can smoke times 10. And we did an episode where we were supposed to be in Jamaica, and they hired like 3 actual Rastafarian background performers. Basically, who doubled as everybody in Jamaica, you know? They're like, we changed the angle, put some different clothes on them, and they were there. And so at lunchtime, I always smoked at work. It was kind of a dumb thing, which I'm saying now, but back then I didn't really care. And I went to the back field behind the studio, the lot. This is the only sound stage that was there, so it's not like I was on like a major studio lot, and started smoking a joint, and these Rastas came out to the back, and they were like, hey, we'll smoke with you. I'm gonna try not to do a bad Rasta accent right now. And I was like, yeah, man, yeah, let's smoke. And they were like, oh, and they all each lit up a joint. So like all 3 of us were in this like train. Yeah, and I was like, while I was doing it, I was like, I'm at fucking work. I shouldn't be doing this. This is a bad idea. But they were like, oh, look at yo, white boy, go white boy. And I was like, yeah, man, white boy, go. Like I can do it. Fuck, you guys, weed is pussy. And next thing I know, I'm just like, where am I? I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, I literally forgot who they were. I was like, what am I doing in the park with these guys? And I ended up going, like, wandering back to my trailer and kind of putting it together. You know, I was like, I gotta go to work. And I remember I went in my trailer and like put water on my face because I was so high. And I remember like it felt like space and time was like bending. I was like, at least I don't have to shoot until like 2 scenes after lunch. And I just laid down and knock on the door and they're like, hey, we changed the scene order. You're up first after lunch. And I was just like, fuck, oh my God. And I had to literally go into hair and makeup, and they kind of like, they were used to seeing me high, so they didn't know how deep this high was going at this time. And so I go on set, and I'm working with one of the directors that had directed a lot of the episodes, and I walk on set, and he's kind of like, hey, Chad. Hey, you okay? You know, I was like, man, yeah, let's go. I got this. No problem. And we start going, and all I could do was look at the camera, and I was like, what is this thing? What is this I do? What acting? What is this? This black box, and I'm in front of it, and people watch it. Alien civilizations later, thousands of years are gonna find this shit. What is this? You know, like I was like, what is this? And of course, I mean, that's my inner monologue. Outside, I'm just going, trying to do my lines or whatever. The director keeps calling cut, and like, all right, do it again. Finally, the first AD, who's like a confidant of mine, she's like, all right, let's take a 5-minute break or whatever. And she takes me, drags me off to the side and is like, hey, what's going on? She's like, you are high. I was like, no, I'm not. She's like, listen, we all know you get high. It's never been a problem before. This is a problem. you are being problematic right now. And she's like, I'm going to release you for the day, but I don't want this to get out to the producers and furthermore to the networks. So I'm going to tell everyone that you got food poisoning at breakfast and you had to go home. And that's what we're going to say on the paperwork. But this is your one get out of jail free card. If I ever catch you high on set again, I'm going to go straight to the producers, and you know how lucky you are to be a lead on a TV series at 18 years old, and you're blowing it, that kind of thing. I remember at the time I was a little like harsh, man, but like, all right. And then I got home and basically had to reassess my life. I was like, what am I doing? If she's right, why am I treating this like it's a responsibility that I have, and it's a privilege of mine. So I quit smoking weed that day, and I've never smoked any weed since then. And I've been sort of, not that that's a big deal, but so that's my Breaker High after school special story for all you potheads out there. Yeah, that's right.
All right, anyone else? I was like, oh, okay, thumbs up, that's a different one. Or thumbs up about the weed. Oh, okay. All right. Just checking, like, I've been that high before. Go ahead.
What was your worst scene?
My worst? Well, there's so many ways to gauge that, It's like worst performance or worst, just like
scene you didn't want to do.
Scene I didn't want to do. I never really had any scenes I didn't want to do. The only thing I really don't like doing as an actor, which we had to do a lot on Reaper, is nighttime driving shots. We seem to be in cars a lot at night, and they do this thing called poor man's process, which is you're not outside, you're in a studio, you're in a black tent, and they've got like a light on a gimbal that they just rotate on it like a helicopter swivel over the car, and they have guys going, like shaking the car, and you're supposed to be driving, and you're doing the like, nobody fucking drives like this, right? And it's like, it's a real art form. I like to think that I've mastered it because of Reaper, but every time we had an exterior night car scene, I just shit bricks, I hated them. Yeah, so there's a lot of those. Next time if you're watching the series and you go back through it, you'll see what I mean. There are a ton of them. Yeah.
Anyone else? So let me ask you a couple questions. Sure. We have a few more minutes.
All right, bestie.
Since we're pals. What advice would you give if there's someone that's out here that's if they want to be a writer or an actor or anything, like what advice would you give them? It sounds like you've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give them in order to possibly chase their dream?
Well, I think across the board, the main thing is just be authentic, Like, I think if you like horror movies, or if you like, if you have a genre you love, I think you gotta attack it. You know what I mean? Don't ever try to sort of start bending who you are to fit into grooves in the industry. Attack the part of the industry that you like, that you love. I think you have your best chance of making it when you're doing something you're genuinely passionate about. The other thing I think, which is a dangerous piece of advice, but it's one that I took years ago, David Mamet, who is a famous playwright and filmmaker and screenwriter, he wrote a book called True or False, and it's scary. It's a scary book to read because it basically tells the actor that you're nothing. You're nothing. You're just like a meat sock, You're just supposed to, So there are parts of it that I wouldn't take, advice, but it's he has this one segment basically talking about getting rid of your safety net for any artist, really. That if you're working your job and you're trying to dedicate time to being an artist, you at least once in your life have to cut the safety net, cut the tie, and just not have something to fall back on, and just actually have just laser-like focus on your craft for as long as you can do it. So I would tell any artist they really have to do that. You can't really, I guess, fully feel the ups and downs of an artist until you've had some pretty bad downs. So yeah.
Don't you think they should just do it?
Just do it. Just really do it. And like I said, just be authentic. Be who you are, and follow your passion. Which sounds cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. So.
All right. One last question. Who wants to take it? Anyone? All right, go ahead.
Now, is there anyone that you haven't worked with, actor or director, that you would like to, if you had your choice?
No, I've worked with everybody. I've worked with everybody. There are people I wish I hadn't worked with. Zach Ward, that's one of them. Is he in here? No, just kidding. I love Zach. People that I want to work with. Oh, I have a huge list of people that I want to work with. It's tripping me out. This guy looks exactly like my brother right here with the beanie on. You look like my big brother. People I would like to work with. Philip Seymour Hoffman as an actor, I think is like about as good as they get, and I'd love to work with him. Joaquin Phoenix as well. I think he's amazing. Director that I would really love to work with before I think you just can't is Scorsese. Obviously, I think it would be a dream come true. And I'm really, I don't know if you guys are familiar with all of the State. You guys know the State? Like Wayne Days, David Wayne. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of those guys, like with Ken Marino and Michael Ian Black, but I haven't worked with David Wayne yet. And I really, really want to work with David Wayne. I think that would be a dream come true. So yeah, there's a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna have you. We're gonna kind of wrap here, and we'll have you stand up, and everybody can get a picture.
Can I stage dive? Yeah.
Oh, you have a question? One last question.
Yeah, I just totally remembered this just now. Can I touch your beard?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I tweeted.
You did. I totally forgot about it.
She touched my beard.
Now.
Said if you showed up, you could touch my beard. All right, get up here. Come on, touch my beard.
Oh, I didn't mean you did.
So go ahead and get your pictures, and thank you for a great Q&A. A great time.
Thank you. Too late, man. On site, yeah. They shoot that in my hometown. Yeah. I haven't seen that show.